Don't get bogged down in the little stuff. When the pitching change was made, what the score was when the pitching change was made, who bobbled this ball, who threw that ball away, who swung through a 91-mile-an-hour fastball right down the pipe. Don't do it. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or football. I also offer daily shots of the Penguins and Steelers, other two teams in town that I cover. Cubs 9, Pirates 5. I guess that's an improvement. That's half as many runs as the Cubs had scored the previous night. And it was a rough return, to be sure, for Jared Jones. Got tagged there a little bit toward the end of his start. Him, I don't worry about, at all. He'll be fine. Nick Gonzalez committing an error on a routine grounder that would have solved a lot. I don't worry about him either. But then if that's what I'm focusing on after a game like that, then I'm doing the exact opposite of what I just advised in today's opening. Because the bigger issue is the bigger issue. And that's that this team lacks talent and lacks instruction, meaning applicable, effective instruction that results in solid fundamentals. Now, not every player is going to make every play, and not every error or even lapse in judgment is the fault of the manager or coaching staff. But that's why you need to step back, and that's why you need to keep asking, I believe. Not so much should Ben Cherington and Derek Shelton be fired, but why should they be brought back? Give reasons why they're the best people to run this team off the field and on the field in 2025. Give me something. Give me anything. This is year 5. They don't appear to be any better in any regard other than starting pitching than they were in year 1, or for that matter, the final year under Neil Huntington. And I got to tell you, that final year under Huntington, the 2019 team, that team would have kicked this team's rear end. At least, I'd say over a best of 7, because this team can throw Paul Skeens on the mound every 5th day as it's doing today. But here we are. This team right now is 62-70. The 2023 team finished 10 games under. This one is currently, obviously, 8 games under. It would need to have a winning record the rest of the way to be better than last year's team. Anyone want to place money on this group having a winning record the rest of the way? Good luck with that if you do. So there won't have been any progress where it counts the most. There won't have been any progress really in the area of, anything but the starting pitching. The offense, which I'm sure most people thought couldn't be worse, was worse, even though Brian Reynolds is having a terrific season. The bullpen's way worse, even though Aroldis Chapman, the only real successful free agent signing that Cherington had last offseason, what otherwise was just a big mess, is having an incredible season, really, for someone in his mid-30s. The defense, the base running, the situational awareness, and one other thing, because all of those things speak to the manager, and I know that's the most common point of discussion, but there's one other thing. They lack talent. Not the good players that I'm citing. The organization lacks talent. For a 5th year of this project to result in scrambling to move guys out of positions, and now O'Neal Cruz is going to be going to center, and Endy Rodriguez is holding a first baseman's mitt, and Henry Davis can't catch a routine relay, perfect relay, by the way, from Isaiah Kiner-Falefa last night. And there's still no answer at first base in the long term. There's still no right fielder. There's still no answers for Ke'Bryan Hayes. And what's really gone right is that the team at one point was so awful that it won the right to draft Paul Skeens, which anyone would have done. That's it. That's their big triumph. And you might remember they celebrated it. That all gets lost, it seems like to me, in the minutia, in the moment. And the bigger stuff, the stuff that people actually should be deeply disappointed and disillusioned about, doesn't get anywhere near the same attention. My friends, this franchise, past 2 nights, has given up 27 runs. The opponent's been able to steal bases literally at will, as if this were Pony League. And it's all so bad that they struck out 14 times last night, and I'll bet no one even acknowledged it. Their pitchers walked a batter with the bases loaded for the 17th time this season, more than any other team in the majors. This is very, very bad, okay? Every once in a while, I'll get some kind of reaction from somebody about, my being over the top or excessively dramatic or whatever. Listen to the numbers that I'm giving you. Never mind, my intonation or the adjectives that I'll attach to it. Just listen to some of this data and understand that the Pittsburgh Pirates have in year 5 of this front office, not just the field manager, but the entire front office, have somehow sunken lower than the year before these guys took over. The year that got everybody then fired. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern, that's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Ken, who says, DK, exactly what is going on here? That's it. That's all Ken had. He didn't elaborate on that. So you know what? That offers me the license to take it wherever I want. Because if I had to, and I do clearly, get into Ken's head to complete this thought, to complete this concept that he's putting forth, I'll choose to go this route. Because I'm starting to hear some things in certain corners related to this baseball club, and I've been through these before, so this would be more of an educated guess than a guess, but things are starting to pile up on Derek Shelton. And to make this clear, I have no issue with that. I can't come up with a reason to bring this manager back in 2025. If he were fired at season's end, if he were fired before the 12:35 p.m. first pitch today, purely from the perspective of the baseball team and its performance, I'd have no issue with it. None. So let's get that part straight before I proceed to the next thing. I don't have a problem with people piling on Shelton. I don't have a problem with people on the inside doing so. I do have a problem with any potential scapegoating that it would involve. Because ultimately, and boy, this has only been true of organized sport since it began, the most important thing, not the only thing, but the most important thing is to have good athletes, is to have good players. All of it counts, but not equally. Having good players is what puts you into a great position to have a good team, not the other way around. A great manager with bad players is going to preside over a bad team. Don't take that from me. Take that from everyone who's ever managed or coached anything at any level. So I dare say that if you're one of those people who's focusing on Shelton, inside or outside the organization, and you're doing so while exempting the general manager who hasn't come within a solar system of producing enough talent at any level of this organization, and that what in fact is going on here, to go at my interpretation of your question, is that the front office is starting to roll the manager under the bus a little bit and might in fact roll others under the bus, well, that might lead you to think that the front office isn't the problem. The front office is just fine. Entering a regular season in which you're purported to be competing or contending for something, and doing so by setting the stage for a 3-man competition in spring training to play right field between Josh Palacios, Edward Olivares, and Billy McKinney, but then being forced to make a trade at the deadline to still try to address that position, that's embarrassing. That's so much more embarrassing than what you saw last night. And that was embarrassing. The night before was embarrassing. But none of it's more embarrassing than the scenario that I just laid out for you, but it's one that nobody talks about. Just like nobody talks about how there's no Latin American original talent despite $7 or $8 million being spent on it every single year in the offseason. Nothing. I'm not talking about in Pittsburgh. I'm talking about all through the system. And if you do see a Latin American name have a big name in the system, like Johnny Severino did last night by hitting for the cycle for Class A Bradenton, you should know that that player comes from some other system, which Severino did, by the way. That's the problem. That's the number one problem. They haven't amassed talent. Therefore, they're not good. Therefore, they never get better, even when the baseball gods smile upon them and hand them a once-in-a-lifetime young pitcher. Don't be narrowing that down to the field manager. I appreciate the question. I appreciate, especially how open-ended it was, by the way. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Pirates, and we're going to do another one of these tomorrow.